Welcome back to our Atomic Habits series. In the last part, we explored the first law of behavior change: make it obvious. Now we move to the second law: make it attractive. If the first law was about seeing your habits clearly, this one is about making them appealing so you actually want to do them. Because the truth is, we don't stick to habits just because they're logical or good for us. We stick to them because they feel enjoyable, rewarding, and even irresistible. In this section, we'll cover 3 chapters. In Chapter 8, we'll discover how cravings drive our actions and how to make good habits more tempting. In Chapter 9, we'll learn the powerful role of family, friends, and culture in shaping what feels attractive. And in Chapter 10, we'll dig into the deeper causes of bad habits and how to reframe them so they lose their grip on us. By the end of this part, you'll understand how desire works, how to use social influence to your advantage, and how to turn even difficult habits into something you can look forward to. So, let's dive into the second law: make it attractive. Chapter 8: if you want a habit to stick, it has to be something you actually look forward to. Let's break this down. Strange bird experiments. In the 1940s, scientist Nico Tinbergen discovered something fascinating about animals. Baby seagulls peck at a red dot on their mother's beak to get food. Tinbergen tested this by showing chicks fake cardboard beaks with red spots. Surprisingly, the chicks pecked at the fake beaks just as eagerly. Then Tinbergen exaggerated the experiment. He painted giant red dots on cardboard. The chicks went crazy, pecking even more than they did at real beaks. This showed that animals respond even more strongly to exaggerated signals, which scientists call supernormal stimuli. Other animals showed the same pattern. For example, geese normally roll eggs back into their nests. Tinbergen found that if he put a volleyball near the nest, the goose worked harder to roll the volleyball than its own eggs. The lesson: when cues are exaggerated, animals are irresistibly drawn to them. Humans and supernormal stimuli. Humans aren't so different. Junk food, for example, is designed to trigger our brains. For most of history, food was scarce, so our brains evolved to love sugar, fat, and salt. But today, food companies have learned to exploit this craving. Potato chips, fries, and cookies are carefully engineered, crunchy outside, soft inside, with the perfect mix of salt and fat. This keeps us eating long past when we're full. This is the same principle as the baby gulls pecking at giant red dots. Modern products exaggerate natural rewards, and we can't resist. Other examples. Alcohol is a concentrated form of natural fruit fermentation. Video games are a concentrated version of play. Social media likes are a concentrated version of social approval. Advertisements exaggerate beauty, style, and pleasure to grab attention. Our brains, built for the natural world, are constantly being hijacked by modern, supernormal rewards. Dopamine and desire. To understand why habits can become so attractive, we need to talk about dopamine. In the 1950s, scientists discovered that when rats were deprived of dopamine, they lost all motivation. They still enjoyed food when it was put in their mouths, but they didn't seek it out. Without dopamine, they didn't want anything, and eventually died. On the other hand, when dopamine was artificially increased, the rats went into overdrive, repeating behaviors hundreds of times per hour. Here's the key point: dopamine isn't just about liking rewards, it's about wanting them. Dopamine spikes before you eat, not just after. Gamblers feel the strongest rush before placing a bet, not after winning. Addicts crave drugs when they see them, not just after taking them. It's the anticipation of pleasure that drives action. Craving leads to response. This is why habits are powerful. Every cue that promises a reward spikes dopamine and pushes us to act. Anticipation is stronger than reward. Think about holidays or vacations. The days leading up to Christmas or a big trip can feel more exciting than the day itself. That's dopamine at work, anticipation often feels stronger than the event. This is why cravings are the real engine of habit. If you want a habit to last, you need to make it attractive so that you look forward to it. Temptation bundling. So how do we make boring but useful habits more attractive? One strategy is temptation bundling. This means linking something you need to do with something you want to do. For example, a student in Ireland hacked his exercise bike so Netflix only played if he kept pedaling. Exercise need plus Netflix want. A company promoted TV shows by encouraging viewers to enjoy wine and popcorn at the same time. Watching TV need from the company's view, plus relaxing with food, want. You can do the same. Only listen to your favorite podcast while going for a walk. Only check social media after finishing an assignment. Only get a pedicure while catching up on emails. This way, the habit you need becomes associated with something you already enjoy. Habit stacking plus temptation bundling. You can make this even stronger by combining habit stacking, from Chapter 5, with temptation bundling. Formula 1. After current habit, I will, habit I need. 2. After habit I need, I will, habit I want. Example. After making morning coffee, I will write one gratitude note, need. After writing the note, I will read the news, want. Another. After lunch, I will call 3 clients, need. After calling, I will check sports highlights, want. Over time, you start looking forward to the need habit because it's linked with the want habit. The big lesson? This chapter reveals a simple but powerful truth. Desire, not discipline, drives habits. We don't repeat behaviors just because they're useful. We repeat them because they're attractive. If you want habits to stick, make them irresistible. If you want to break bad habits, reduce their attractiveness. And if you want to build good ones, find ways to pair them with things you already enjoy. Key takeaways from Chapter 8. 1. Habits are driven by cravings and anticipation, not just rewards. 2. Our brains are wired to fall for exaggerated cues, called supernormal stimuli. 3. Modern life is filled with superstimuli, junk food, social media, ads, video games. 4. Dopamine motivates us by spiking before rewards, pushing us into action. 5. Temptation bundling is a practical way to make boring habits attractive by pairing them with things you like. So, Chapter 8 teaches us the second law of behavior change: make it attractive. Habits stick not because they're logical, but because they're enjoyable. By understanding dopamine, cravings, and strategies like temptation bundling, you can design habits that pull you in naturally, instead of pushing yourself with willpower. In this chapter, James Clear explains how the people around us, our family, friends, and communities, play a huge role in shaping the habits we form and keep. Habits don't develop in isolation, they grow inside social environments. Let's break this chapter into simple points. The Polgar family story. The chapter begins with a true story about a Hungarian man named Laszlo Polgar. He strongly believed that genius is not something you are born with, but something that can be trained with effort and good habits. To prove this, he and his wife decided to raise their daughters to become chess champions. They filled their home with chess books, pictures of players, and practice opportunities. The girls were homeschooled, played constantly, and entered top tournaments. The result? All 3 daughters became world-class players. One of them, Judith, became the youngest grandmaster in history at the time, even younger than Bobby Fischer. For nearly 3 decades, she was the top-ranked female chess player in the world. The Polgar sisters did not see this as a burden. They enjoyed chess because their family made it normal, fun, and rewarding. This shows how powerful family culture can be in shaping habits. The pull of social norms. Humans are social creatures. For most of history, we survived in tribes. Belonging to the group meant safety, food, and opportunities. Being alone often meant danger. Because of this, one of our deepest human desires is to fit in and belong. That's why social norms, the invisible rules of a group, influence us so strongly. We copy the habits of the people around us without even realizing it. If your culture values chess like the Bulgars, then chess feels attractive. If your workplace values expensive suits, you'll feel pressure to wear one. If your friends share a new slang phrase, you'll start saying it too. Habits are most attractive when they help us fit in with our social group. 1. Imitating the clothes. The first group we copy is the people closest to us: family, friends, coworkers, and partners. Their habits rub off on us, sometimes without us noticing. If your friends gain weight, your chances of gaining weight rise. If your partner quits smoking, you might also quit. If your classmates study hard, you're more likely to study too. Peer pressure isn't always bad, it depends on the group. If you surround yourself with people who practice good habits, you are more likely to copy them. One smart strategy is to join a culture where your desired behavior is normal. For example, want to get fit? Join a fitness group. Want to read more? Join a book club. Want to learn music? Join a band. Even better, join groups where you already have something in common. For example, Nerd Fitness helps video game and comic lovers get healthy. Because the group shares a common identity, habits feel easier and more natural. When habits are tied to community identity, they stick longer. You're not just a reader. You're part of a reading group. You're not just a cyclist. You're part of a cycling community. The group reinforces your new identity. 2. Imitating the many. The second group we copy is the crowd. A famous psychology experiment by Solomon has showed how powerful this pull is. Participants were asked to judge which lines matched in length. The answer was obvious, but actors in the room purposely gave wrong answers. Most real participants eventually copied the group, even when they knew it was wrong. This proves that when we're unsure, we look to others for guidance. That's why we check product reviews before buying or follow popular trends online. The downside? Sometimes the group pushes us toward unhelpful habits. People would rather be wrong with the crowd than right alone. That's how social pressure can trap us in bad routines. So, if you want better habits, choose groups where the crowd's normal behavior matches your desired behavior. 3. Imitating the powerful. The third group we copy is people with status and influence. Humans naturally respect those with prestige, success, or authority. Throughout history, following powerful people increased survival chances. Today, we still copy celebrities, leaders, bosses, or even admired peers. For example, we may copy the routines of successful entrepreneurs. We may imitate athletes we admire. We may adopt styles or behaviors of respected colleagues. We also avoid behaviors that lower our status. We clean our homes before guests arrive, or dress nicely to avoid embarrassment. When habits bring respect, admiration, or recognition, they become far more attractive. That's why the Polgar sisters continued their intense chess practice. It wasn't just family culture, but also the status and praise they earned along the way. Chapter 9 reminds us that the people around us are some of the strongest forces shaping our habits. We don't just act alone, we copy family, friends, crowds, and role models. If you want to build better habits, choose better tribes. When good behavior feels normal in your group, you'll naturally stick with it. Chapter 10 James Clear helps us understand why bad habits form and how we can reprogram our minds to escape them. Bad habits don't just happen by accident. They are often solutions our brains create to handle deeper human needs. Let's break this down step by step. How bad habits start. James shares a story from his trip to Turkey. He was surrounded by people who once smoked heavily. Most of them admitted they started smoking because of friends. Social influence pulled them in. But half of them had also quit, and one man credited his success to a book that reframed smoking. The author of that book taught people to see smoking not as something they enjoyed, but as something that gave them nothing but harm. By changing how they saw the habit, people were able to let it go. This shows the power of reframing cues. If you can change the meaning your brain attaches to a habit, you can weaken its grip. Where cravings really come from. Every habit starts with a craving. But cravings have two layers. 1. The surface craving, what you feel in the moment. 2. The deeper motive, the real human need behind it. For example, you may crave tacos, but the deeper motive is survival, the need for food. You may crave Instagram likes, but the deeper motive is social approval. You may crave cigarettes, but the deeper motive is stress relief or belonging. Your brain did not evolve to want cigarettes or social media. It evolved to want connection, status, comfort, food, and safety. Modern habits are just new ways to chase ancient desires. Habits are associations. Habits are built on associations. A cue appears, and your brain predicts what will happen next based on past experience. Examples. Cue, you see a hot stove prediction. If I touch it, I'll burn my hand. Cue, you see a green light prediction. If I step on the gas, I'll move forward safely. The same happens with habits. If you've learned that smoking reduces stress, then every time you feel stress, your brain predicts that a cigarette will help. That prediction creates a craving. Here's the key: the cause of your habits is not the cue itself, but your brain's prediction about it. Two people can look at the same cigarette. One feels desire, the other feels disgust. The difference is in the prediction and association. Cravings equals a gap in state. A craving is simply the sense that something is missing, a gap between your current state and your desired state. If you feel cold, you crave warmth. If you feel anxious, you crave calm. If you feel lonely, you crave connection. Every habit is your brain's way of trying to close that gap. How to reprogram bad habits. If bad habits are built on predictions and associations, then the way to break them is to reprogram those associations. 1. Reframe your habits. Instead of seeing chores as burdens, see them as opportunities. Change "I have to" into "I get to." I have to go to work early. I get to go to work and build my career. I have to cook dinner. I get to feed my family and care for them. This small shift makes habits feel less like punishment and more like privilege. 2. Link habits with positive feelings. Find ways to enjoy the process. Exercise instead of "I must run." Say, "I'm building strength and speed." Saving money not "I'm restricting myself," but "I'm buying freedom for the future." Meditation not "I'm distracted," but each distraction is practice for getting better. When you reframe habits, they become more attractive. 3. Use motivation rituals. Another way to reprogram your brain is through rituals. This means connecting your habit with something enjoyable. Over time, the enjoyable activity becomes a cue for the habit itself. For example, athletes have warm-up rituals that get them into game mode. Writers may put on certain music or headphones to trigger focus. You can smile, take deep breaths, or play a favorite song before doing something hard. Over time, your brain links the ritual with positive emotions, and the habit feels easier to start. 1. Bad habits are not random. They are often solutions to deeper human needs. 2. Cravings come from underlying motives like survival, connection, and status. 3. Habits are built on predictions and associations your brain makes about cues. 4. The cause of your bad habits is the meaning you've attached to them, not the cue itself. 5. You can reprogram habits by reframing them positively and linking them to enjoyable rituals. Chapter 10 teaches us that the real causes of our bad habits lie in the way we interpret cues and the predictions our brain makes. If you want to break a bad habit, don't just fight the craving, change the meaning behind it. By reframing habits, attaching them to positive feelings, and creating rituals, we can make even hard habits more attractive and easier to follow. We've now reached the end of Part 3 of Atomic Habits, which explained the second law of behavior change: make it attractive. Let's quickly bring together the main lessons. In Chapter 8, we learned that cravings, not discipline, are what really drive our habits. Our brains are wired to chase rewards, and the anticipation of pleasure often motivates us more than the reward itself. The strategy here is to make good habits more tempting through tools like temptation bundling, linking something you need to do with something you already enjoy. In Chapter 9, we discovered how powerful social influence can be. We copied the habits of 3 groups in particular: the close, family and friends; the many, the crowd; and the powerful, people we admire. If you want to build better habits, join groups where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Belonging makes habits stick. Finally, in Chapter 10, we uncovered the deeper causes of bad habits. Every bad habit is just a modern solution to ancient needs like comfort, safety, or connection. The key to overcoming them is to reframe your mindset, see good habits as opportunities, not burdens, and connect them with positive feelings. Rituals and perspective shifts can transform hard habits into attractive ones. So, the big takeaway from Part 3 is this: we don't just repeat habits because they're good for us. We repeat them because they feel rewarding, socially accepted, and emotionally satisfying. By reshaping our environment, our social groups, and our mindset, we can make the right habits pull us in naturally. This completes the second law: make it attractive. In the next part, we'll move on to the third law: make it easy, where we'll learn how to reduce friction, simplify habits, and make change effortless. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next part of this series. Together, let's keep growing, one small habit at a time.